Yeah.
Speaking of the season's coming to an end for you guys, you mentioned you've got one more trip to get in the books up to New York, home game before that.
Yeah.
So, but not a bad spot to end the season up in New York. A little visit, a little Sunday afternoon matinee.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, it's, I think all in all, I mean, you're not going to make the playoffs. You're not in the play-in, but I still think this team exceeded expectations this year, Jim. I mean, most people picked them to win 22, 23 games, and they were really headed for a playoff position the last time they were at Madison Square Garden. It was the first half of the season had ended. The Pacers were 23-18. I think they were 5th or 6th in the East. And that's the night that Tyrese Halliburton got hurt, and he would miss the next 10 games. The Pacers went 1-9, and their fortunes really changed. And but I think what this last few weeks has given, with Turner being out and Halliburton being out, it's really given the young guys a chance to play a lot and get experience, especially against a lot of playoff teams. If you look over the last week plus, I mean, they've played Milwaukee, they've played Cleveland. They played Dallas, even though Dallas is on the outside right now. I mean, you've got 2 perennial all-stars in Doncic and Irving. So I think it's been really good for guys like Andrew Nembhard and Benedict Mathurin, 2 rookies that are in the NBA for the first time. And now they're playing every night against frontline players. So I think all in all, it's been a successful season. The fan base, I think, has been rejuvenated. They love what they see. Sure, they want to see more wins and they want to see a team go to the playoffs. That's the ultimate goal. But I think, patience is a virtue. And I'm really looking forward to next year because they have a lot of cap space. They've got 3 first-round picks. I don't think they'll have all those rookies come in. I think they can use a couple of those picks, one of those picks for a trade, bring in another talented veteran. I'm really looking forward to the offseason to see what this team can do to make itself better for next year.
Yeah, Indiana, of course, has a couple of players that have declared for the draft in Jalen Hood-Schifino and as well as Trayce Jackson-Davis. Of course, we'll see where they end up, but Jalen Hood-Schifino projected as a very potential lottery pick. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up going to play. He played very well this year for Indiana. They could certainly use him next year, but he won't be there. His services will be gone.
Yeah, I think he's a really talented player. I mean, his draft stock really rose as the season progressed. He's got a big, strong body. He's on, Jim, you look at him, it's sort of like Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin came in with an NBA body, and I think Jalen Hood-Schifino as well. And I'm intrigued by Trayce Jackson-Davis. I mean, maybe 2 years ago, I was thinking, I don't know how this guy's going to fit in the NBA. But the guy, he's got a strong motor. He's a good rebounder. He blocks shots. There's always a place for that. So those are 2 talented players. And unfortunately for IU fans, they're going to lose because they were so good this year. Trayce for his entire Indiana career. But, you see these guys make the next step. We'll see Jaden Ivey tomorrow night. We saw him very early in the season. In fact, it was the first weekend of the season the Pacers saw him. And then the last time the Pacers and the Pistons played, he was out with COVID illness. So, there's another guy that we saw in the state of Indiana for a few years that played at a high level at Purdue, and now he's had a really good rookie season. So I think good expectations both for Hood-Schifino and Trayce Jackson-Davis as they make the next move to the NBA.
Yeah, I think one of the first things any team that gets Trayce Jackson-Davis is that they're going to force him to shoot the ball outside of 5 feet. I was watching during the NCAA tournament, during some of their pregame warmups. He was shooting from behind the arc, as part of the team, how they would move. And I'm like, it's not that he can't shoot, but he won't shoot. But that's the first thing that an NBA team is going to do is say, dude, you have to shoot the ball. So we're going to teach you, if it's confidence, whatever it is, that's the first thing they're going to work on.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, at the NBA level, I mean, it's the next step. You don't have classes. Your job is to do what you do, right? And they'll spend a lot of time on that and make sure he has the confidence to do that. I've said this, fans may remember a name, Brandon Clark, who played at Gonzaga, and he's in Memphis. He's a guy that has a very weird looking outside shot. He does not shoot outside of the lane, but he's hugely effective, Jim. He plays with Ja Morant. He plays with Desmond Bane. He plays with Luke Kennard now. Now, unfortunately, he's out with an injury, but he's a guy that just patrols the lane and has, offensive rebound, putbacks, all that. He's a guy that's averaged 10 to 12 points per game. So there is a place for you if you aren't, a perimeter shooter. Now, it's helpful that you have that in your bag, but I still think that having watched Trace over the last couple of years and just watched his motor and his ability to rebound and his ability to block shots. Look at a guy like the Pacers played last night, Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson shoots 51% from the free throw line, has one of the most awkward looking outside shots you'll ever see, but he gets all of his baskets in the paint. He averages a double-double. So, with the right team and the right personnel, somebody like that does not have an outside shot, I still think can exist in the NBA.
Yeah, you look at Jalen Hood-Schifino, and while he's not someone you think of in the same regard as Trace in that regard, but he's made his bones with his mid-range jump shot. Yeah. Not that he can't shoot behind the arc. He has had plenty of success there, but he really just drove teams insane. I'd have to go back and look how many of his 35 points against Purdue were 2-point shots. Yeah. A lot of them. So he uses that to great skill. And it's kind of something that's gone away from a lot of people. It's either dunking or 3-point shooting. And man, that mid-range jumper is deadly if you have it.
Yeah, there are a lot of talented players in the NBA that rely on the mid-range jumper. I think of DeMar DeRozan currently. If you think back in the course of the NBA in recent history, Dwayne Wade, I thought, was one of the best mid-range jump shooters in the NBA. If you got him out to the three-point arc, that's where he struggled a little bit. But he made his bones, he made his money in that 15 to 18 foot range. And so there are opportunities to do that. And I agree with you, Jim. If you're a good mid-range scorer, somebody like a DeMar DeRozan, you can average 20 points a game in the NBA.
Zach Edey, I don't see him going pro this year, although he's one of those unique cases. He's from Canada, so the NIL deal does not affect him. I don't think he can collect NIL since he is a foreign student. So he has another year of eligibility. I expect him to come back. I didn't expect him to go to the NBA, and I still don't. And I don't think that he's been mentioned very highly on draft boards. I don't know if it's part because they don't expect him to go, but he's obviously a different type of player. He's 7'4", and it's not how the NBA is played now, but he's 7'4", and 7'4" still is 7'4".
Yeah, 7'4", there's a place for you. You may not be a starter. You might be a role player. You might be a bench player, but there's some type of opportunity for you. He's a much different 7'4" or 7'5" than Victor Wembanyama. I saw the clip of him the other night, missing a 3-point shot, following the rebound off the rim and dunking it. That's a guy that has incredible ball skills, incredible ball handling, can shoot it. That's a different type of player at 7'5" than Zach Edey. So I think it'll be really interesting to see, what happens. Now I'll probably turn my attention clearly next week to the play-in tournament, to the playoffs, but I'll also start to look more at who's coming into the draft, who could be available in those top, 5, 6, 7 picks where we think the Pacers will have a first-round pick unless they get lucky and get in the top 3. And then, look into the 20s. There have been plenty of players over the years that have been picked in the 20s and have had highly successful NBA careers. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for the Pacers to improve, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for a lot of these college players to come into the NBA and contribute right away.